If you're a heating and air conditioning technician or a salesperson, what is the power of a tech set lead and why does it matter? This is an important question. I'm Sylvan Bell. I'm coming to you live for HVAC Technician Sales Secrets on a perfect day to talk about sales and a perfect day to talk about you. Now here's the thing. I gotta give you some numbers, and this video is probably gonna take about 6 or 7 minutes for me to explain what you need to know. But follow along because it'll help you understand why a tech set lead is so important. So here's the thing. If I own a heating and air conditioning company, I know that the numbers that are going to help me the most are from systems that are sold. That's where the most amount of margin happens. That's the most amount of money that's going to come into the company. Okay. So I've got a couple of different opportunities to make a sale like that happen. I can go to the open market and I can put ads on things like Uncle Google and hope that people click on them and say, hey, look, I want to buy a heating and air unit. But when somebody typically makes that decision, they're like, hey, I want to get a couple of bids. So they call a couple of your competitors, they have some conversations. But what you need to know is depending upon the time of the year, that single one click can cost $200, $400, $600, $800. Depends upon how people are bidding and who's going to crazy town and just saying, I'll spend $1,000 for a click. You're like, Scott, what does that have to do with an HVAC tech set lead? Everything. This is why you should join HVACTechSecrets.com. I'll give you the goods, not in the Facebook group and not in the YouTube channel. So you could go to the open market and you can say, I want to send out 50,000 mailers. I want to send 50,000 mailers. And just for the sake of argument, let's just say a stamp and the printing costs 50 cents. That means that print house is going to charge $25,000. That's $25,000 to acquire mail saying, do you want to buy a new system? We've got a fantastic special going on for you. Okay. So the numbers say that if you could get a 1/10 or a 1/10 of 1% response, that's a good number. So on 50,000 mailers, that's 50 leads, 50. And if the average salesperson closes 40%, that means that there's 20 systems sold, 30 systems lost, okay? Now, let's say that instead of me running an ad for a HVAC system, I run an ad for a tune-up. I don't know, they range across all sorts of different numbers depending on where you live. So let's set on a number at 70. And I put out this ad at $70 for a tune-up. And people are like, well, you know what? I'm hoping my system's gonna last a little bit longer. So I'm gonna click on that. Now that click could be 50 bucks, could be 100 bucks, could be 150 bucks. But in a lot of instances, that click on Uncle Google or wherever it is gonna be less than a new system, okay? So whether it's mail being sent out, PPC, where it's actually a click, or a Facebook ad, or an Instagram ad, or a YouTube ad, it's a lower barrier to entry, right? And I know who designed this setup, and I know the story behind it. I don't have all day to give it to you, but here is what the gist is. If you can get to your buyer before they go to the market and before they have the needs to acquire the product or the service, you can circumvent a lot of the shopping that gets done in the marketplace. And there's nothing wrong with this. Car companies do this for tune-ups on cars. You know, roof gutter people do this all the time. Roofing companies, like this is a common practice in business. How can I get to my client faster to acquire that lead before it goes to the open market? And like, Scott, you said in the beginning, Scott, that you were going to tell me why a tech set lead is so important. Well, here's the thing. The cost of acquisition is easier to acquire a tune-up than it is for a full-on system replacement. This is why I became a technician in 2006. The ownership group for the company that I work for said, hey, Scott, there's a bigger opportunity in the marketplace for us to put you on a tune-up and for you to ethically find enough issues that are going on with that piece of equipment and then set that lead and then sell it yourself or send it to a salesperson. Now, here's the thing. You don't need to get a big head like, I'm a technician, I'm the greatest thing ever. Without me, you wouldn't have tech set leads. Like, no, that's not the way to think, right? It does help that you set a lead. It does make it easier to acquire leads, but the company can still go to the open market and say, hey, I want to buy a lead for a heating and air unit replacement. It's just going to cost more, right? So this is why a lot of big companies, especially the ones that may have been brought up by private equity or have a couple of locations, track where technicians are in their numbers, because in their mind, they want to say, hey, look, we've got cost of acquisition at between $400 bucks and $1,000, or cost of acquisition at 50 to 150 bucks, with the opportunity to sell a $10, $15, $20,000 unit, or $30,000, $40, $50, whatever number it is wherever you are. I don't know where you're at. I'm in California. I know the systems are about 20 grand in California, okay? Or more. NorCal, 20 grand, SoCal, 30. Whatever number you choose, okay? So the whole goal for you is to go to the open market, acquire the lead on the tune-up that costs far less than the acquisition of a lead where you're going to the market and saying, hey, I want to get somebody who wants to buy a new system. So if you're like, hey, Scott, why does my company push for TechSet leads? The answer is it costs less to acquire that client, and if it's over 12 years old, and that's the number that you use, there's a high probability that you can sell a system where there's enough damage, where ethical. Maybe a 10-year-old system, maybe a 15-year-old system. I don't know what number the company is that you set. You got one thing to do from here, just one thing. Find the subscribe button, click on it. Every time I send out a video, you'll get an update that says HVAC Technician Sales Secrets, and another fantastic video. You should check it out, which you should. We'll see you soon.